It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Obama just wet his pants. Why? Because Trey Gowdy gets an ATF special agent to talk and admit about Fast and Furious. This by Conservative Army. South Carolina Representative Trey Gowdy has been set for uncovering Barack Hussein Obama as the lying criminal that he is throughout recent years. He came one bit nearer to this objective a week ago when he got an ATF specialist to concede 3 secrets Obama has been avoiding the American individuals. Mad World News revealed that Gowdy was addressing previous ATF Special Agent John Dodson as he sat alongside the mother of killed Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry. Gowdy was getting some information about Obama's cryptic Operation Fast and Furious, which saw the ATF deliberately leak guns to cartels so they could be tracked. The operation wound up costing Terry his life, and Gowdy wasn't going to let Dodson free for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Terry and Mr. Heyer, I want to begin by expressing our condolences and sympathies ongoing for the loss of your son, Special Agent Terry. And I want to ask you a question in just a moment, but Special Agent Dobson, there was a franticness, an obsessiveness exhibited by federal law enforcement officers with respect to narcotics, controlled delivery of pornography, even money, which is not inherently dangerous as firearms and narcotics and pornography would be. This obsessiveness, this franticness of never letting that walk. So that would be only intensified if you were working with firearms. From the very first moment I heard about Fast and Furious, it has vexed me how anyone could have ever thought this investigative scheme was going to work. I don't know how a line agent would think it was going to work, and that's why line agents have supervisors and assistant U.S. attorneys and U.S. attorneys to say, wait, your heart might be in the right place, but this may be the dumbest idea I have ever heard. How did this investigative scheme get started? Who thought it was ever going to work?
Well, sir, I can tell you I can't tell you where the idea originated from or who was ultimately responsible for beginning it, but apparently, or what I can tell you directly is everyone in my chain of command, up to and including the former director, was well briefed on the case, well versed on it, and knew the strategy coming and going. And they all thought it was a great idea. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Arizona, as well as up to Maine Justice, were briefed on it. You yourself know the requirements of big cases or big problems, and the briefings you have to go all the way to OEO, the Office of Enforcement Operations, to do some of the techniques involved in the investigation that we were doing. The OSADEF funding that we had, the proposals that were written for that, it was all spelled out, sir. Everyone knew it. It was there in black and white. And I always thought as soon as we got to the next level, somebody's going to shut it down. As soon as they hear about it, it's going to get shut down. But that never happened. It kept getting more funding, more approval, more attaboys. The people that were running it were called to D.C. several times to brief it at headquarters, at special operations divisions, and over at Maine Justice. And it just seemed it was the new strategy. All the rule books that you and I are aware of were thrown out. I worked with DEA for a number of years. We were never allowed to walk dope, not a gram of it. And walking money we would have to go and work a case through a county to get approval to that. DEA would not authorize it. So when I heard that we were walking guns, it was completely alien to me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because it's alien to me too. I cannot imagine letting someone that you even suspect to be a straw purchaser purchase a firearm and then let that firearm navigate its way through the criminal element only to be recovered at a crime scene. I find it unfathomable that anyone could ever have thought this would turn out any differently than with the mother of a slain federal law enforcement agent and or ordinary citizen sitting at a table. I honestly, I have tried to give the I actually like federal law enforcement officers. I'm probably biased towards them. I'm just struggling to understand how this ever could have turned out any other way. As soon as the gun leaves the parking lot, unless you're maintaining constant surveillance, then you've lost the gun. And then if it crosses the border, God knows what you're going to do with it. And then when you learn they didn't even let our Mexican counterparts in law enforcement know what was going on, this is the most eminently predictable tragedy that I've been connected with since I've been in Congress. It could not have turned out any other way. Ms. Terry, I want to ask you one question, and then I want to have a very brief conversation with the chairman. For lots of America, they view your son as a hero, but all they have seen is a still photograph of a young man in uniform. What would you like our fellow citizens to know about your son that they may not know?
Brian was like a special person. He was dedicated. He was a true American. He was just dedicated to his country. He loved being in the limelight. He loved helping people, protecting people, and that's what he always wanted to do.
Well, thank you. He was wired differently. The different uniforms that he wore, most of us are not wired to want to run towards danger. Most of us are wired to protect ourselves first and foremost, and not others. So you raised an outstanding human being, and I know that I hope that provides some level of comfort to you, even in the throes of your grief. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I would just say this. Perhaps I have missed something. I thought the administration said that they were not part of the approval and were not part of the process and had nothing to do with this investigative scheme. So I guess I'm vexed in how you can use a defense of deliberative process if you were not part of the process. And I would encourage you to share this report with the chairman of the subcommittee that provides appropriations for the Department of Justice.
Here is another example of Congressman Trey Gowdy showing empathy, but also showing fierce leadership in trying to get to the bottom of all the things that the Obama administration, for the most part, at this point, have gotten away with. Well, at least they think they've gotten away with it. Thank you for watching Culture Shock TV. I leave you a link below.